Hey everyone, it's Michael GoosebumpsFan. I hope you're doing well today. First and foremost, I can't breathe through my left nostril. I don't know why, this cold thing is not letting me go after like 4 weeks. It's probably a sinus infection or something, I don't know. I need to go to the doctor on Monday. Anyway, happy Friday. I hope you're doing well. I have a review here for you. I might have another one later on before I go to work. I don't know for sure. As many of you know, we're currently trying to finish up, all of us together, the reviews for the GYG book reviews. And I hope to have those reviews done next week, and hopefully the ranking videos for the covers and for the books worst to best next week as well. But I wanted to take a little bit of a break, give my voice some time to kind of come back. I just, with the cold and stuff, it's really kicking my tail a little bit. So I thought, I'll read a couple of Series 2000 books, I'll read a couple of TV books, and here we are reviewing one of the TV books. As I go through this review, I might have to sniff a lot, so forgive me, just in case it gets on your nerves. So here we are, talking about Goosebumps Presents TV book number 14, You Can't Scare Me. As many of you know, You Can't Scare Me is one of my favorite Goosebumps books of all time. I love the urban legend nature to it, I love how spooky it can be, I like the humor in it, I love the main characters in that book, can't stand the main chick in the book, but I really love it. I really love it. It's one of my favorites of all time. I rank it very high. I think the mud monsters are some of the best creatures ever put in Goosebumps. I think that the cover of that original You Can't Scare Me is one of my top covers of all time from Goosebumps. And I watched the TV episode around the time that I read that book. But the TV episode, of course, has to be made in about 20 minutes, right? They don't have like a two-parter for this, which is a shame because You Can't Scare Me deserved it. The 20-minute long episode adaptation of that book for the original TV show is awful. And of course, these books from the TV books are basically adaptations of those scripts for those TV episodes. And that's all they are, really. And these are not written by R.L. Stine. I think he may have done one of them. I don't think he did, though. I don't think he did any of them, but he may have done at least one of them. Anyway, it's adapted by Teddy Margulies. I'm sorry, I'm really bad with the names. It's Margulies. From the teleplay, it's adapted from the teleplay by Peter Mitchell, based on the novel by R.L. Stine. Now, what is You Can't Scare Me about? First and foremost, let me say this. As much as I absolutely hate the adaptation of the TV show from that book, because of how comedic it was trying to be, there's a couple of scenes from the book that are adapted for that show that are well done. But most of it, no. Most of it's trash, if I'm being an honest person with you, because of how much I love that book. As a fan of that book, I felt like I'd been slapped in the face. This particular book, adaptation of the script for that show, that show's episode, to me personally, I think this was fairly tolerable. I hate the ending to it, which I won't spoil for anybody who hasn't seen the episode or read the original book. They're very different endings. Very different. And this is different from the original book as well. This is pretty much, like I said, a novelization of the script for the episode adaptation. And so a lot of the flaws from that TV show episode are here. But I do think overall, reading the script here as a novel, or a novella, whatever you want to call this. I'm assuming this would be a novelette. Maybe not even that. It's more of like a short story because of how short it was. By the way, this is 60 pages long. Not a whole 120, 130 pages long. About 60 pages long. And this particular book, for me, is fairly tolerable compared to the original TV show adaptation that this is adapted from. A lot of the humor works better because of the lack of bad acting. The comedy and stuff that was in that adaptation of that original kind of serious book is it's better execution here, I would say. What is the story about, though? Let's get into that a little bit. Basically, You Can't Scare Me is about two boys who are best friends. They essentially want to scare this girl in their class named Courtney King, who claims to not be afraid of anything at all. Every prank they try to pull on her to try to freak her out with snakes and bugs and tarantulas. I hate tarantulas. I hate snakes too, but I hate tarantulas more. Everything they try to pull on her to freak her out that would scare me a lot doesn't frighten her at all. She's like one of these kind of, she can just pick up a strange animal and get along with it. Why? I remember the actress for the TV episode being really good for this role. I remember that. I could be wrong, but I remember that. But the main characters here, I liked their banter. I think it worked better here than it did in the actual episode. Of course, it's not anywhere as good as the original book, for sure. I want to keep reminding you of that the book, the original book, is phenomenal. I really love it, and I really recommend it to people who love the kind of urban legend Goosebumps stuff, like Ghost Camp. If that's your kind of thing, the more scary, creepy, atmospheric stuff, the original You Can't Scare Me book is great for that. This might not hit you the same way because of how much more humorous it's trying to be, especially with the finale and the ending. I think the resolution is absolute garbage. I hate it. But I told you basically the plot, that they're trying to scare this Courtney King chick. One of her obsessions in life is this urban legend out in the swamps nearby or whatever called the Mud Monster. And nobody really knows anything about that thing. They kind of have their stories in the local area, you know. But I love in the original book how you actually had the Mud Monster's urban legend. It was actually told to you in like a pretty long couple of chapters, or one chapter, something like that. I recently reread that last year during the summer, and I loved it just as much as I did the first time I read You Can't Scare Me. That original book really succeeds in making that urban legend come to life, and making you understand why Courtney is interested into it, why it could be such a frightening thing if you encountered something like that out in the woods. This book is it's good for about 45 pages of the 60. And then you get to the end of it. And like I said, the finale of this, the way it's resolved, the situation that they get into with the Mud Monster and everything, it's embarrassing. I think it sucks. I think as a fan, again, of You Can't Scare Me's original book, this feels like a slap in the face. This feels like nobody really respected anything about that book. I understand it's an adaptation, but it's kind of like if you had like a different adaptation of like a Star Wars movie and you changed the ending, right? Like what if Luke beat Vader in Empire Strikes Back? Like killed him, you know? What if that happened? Would that make you mad if there was a remake of that in the future and Disney did that? Would that make you mad? I think it'd make a lot of people mad. Or if they started like an official book series and they did it there. What if they did something like that? Would that make you mad? I think it'd make a lot of people mad because the ending of Empire Strikes Back really kind of brings it all together with how dark that movie is. That feels kind of like what happened with this adaptation. I don't really understand why we couldn't do the real urban legend and stuff. I know there's time constraints and everything else for the teleplay and all that. I get all that. I don't understand, though, why this was never picked to be a two-parter. Maybe You Can't Scare Me wasn't that popular. I remember people always loving the cover when I was growing up. Other kids in elementary school loved that cover, but most people didn't talk about that book. And even growing up, or even now, when I've become a Goosebumps YouTuber the last 4 or 5 years, I don't ever hear anybody talk about this book, ever, unless it's negatively. No one really likes it as much as I do. Excuse me, I'm sorry, guys. If you happen to be somebody who can't stand the original book, I would love to hear what you think about the TV episode and this TV book. Do you think they're good? Do you think it's better as more of a comedic case, especially the TV episode itself? Do you like that more than the You Can't Scare Me book? Because the You Can't Scare Me book is more about pranks and stuff and the atmosphere, the urban legend stuff, more so than having the mud monsters there all the time in the story. And to me, that's more impactful. To me, I really love that about it. But anyway, with all that being said, with my congestion-filled head, Goosebumps Presents TV book number 14, You Can't Scare Me, is not a massive loss. Again, it's definitely better than the actual TV episode that this was adapted from. But I would tell you this, it's not really a high recommendation for me. It's not really something I loved or anything. I think it's a better TV book. Surprisingly, it might be my top 5 of the TV books. I could be wrong about that. Don't assume that yet. But to me, it's a little bit better than most TV books. Not better, but quite a few of them. And then quite a few I haven't read out of like the 8 or 10 that I have left to read that just seem like they're going to suck really bad. Anyway, You Can't Scare Me's TV book also happens to have a photo album inside of it, about 8 colorized pages from the actual episode. Of course, they'll look like this. And you'll have like pictures from the episode of like the mud monsters and the kids. And the thing is with these, they also have these little write-ups in here, like I talked about just now. And those little write-ups kind of summarize the story. And they always, for whatever reason, they always spoil the ending of the book before you're even there. You're halfway through this actual novelization before you get to any of the things brought up halfway through these pictures. So what I'd recommend, in case you haven't read this before and you haven't seen the episode before, don't read the pictures. Look at them, don't read them. Just read the rest of the book, then go back, okay? Just so you know. Anyway, with all that being said, I'm not a big fan of this book, but I liked it better than the TV episode, so if I had to rank them, right, it'd be like the original book, this book, and then the TV episode itself. I hope that when Disney makes their new show, it doesn't sound like they'll do this, but I really hope that they do some justice to the mud monsters. These are underappreciated, basically. I was going to say underwhelming, but that's not what I meant. Underappreciated monsters that never get the credit they deserve, and for a picture like that, with how great the mud monsters look in the actual episode, it deserves more credit. They really do. Anyway, TV book number 14, You Can't Scare Me. Did you guys love this? Did you hate it? Put your thoughts and comments down below, folks. I would love to hear what you all have to say about this book. I feel like I'm the only person on the planet that has read this one, because I love the original book, hate the episode. This is a good middle ground between the two, but it ain't much, frankly, because of how bad the ending is. If I had to rate it on a 5-star basis, I'd give it like a 3 out of 5 stars. And I think that's pretty high compared to what I rated the episode. I don't even remember what I rated the episode, but I remember it was probably pretty low compared to a 3 out of 5. Maybe a 1 or a 2, I don't know. But it's bad. Real bad. Anyway, 3 out of 5 stars, like I said, for You Can't Scare Me. Did you guys read this? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Again, put your thoughts and comments down below. I would love to hear what you all have to say. You don't really see many reviews for TV books. I think myself, Completionist, maybe Austin from Monster Blood, that's his channel, Monster Blood, we might be the only ones who have talked about this stuff. I don't know. I could be wrong. Anyway, with all that being said, I hope to have another review for you guys today, later on. A TV book. We'll see if I can get it read before I go to work, and I'll review it and whatever. Anyway, with all that being said, if I don't get to you today, have a happy Friday. God bless you guys. Thank you for watching. I'll see you later. Goodbye.